Hello lovies, welcome to my March wrap up. This is everything I read in March, and I'm gonna have to have a little warning, but someone is like taking down their laundry from the laundry line and they're making so much noise, so that is going to be present in the video. Anyways, this month I finally semi gave up my fanfics and I read actual books. Oh no. It was difficult to put down AO3, to exit out the app, not the app, the Safari. But I did it and I read 8 entire books this month. And like this is a milestone. This is insane because last year in 2023, I only read 6 books the entire year. And now last month, March, I successfully beat that. I literally read 8 books. That's insane. There's 4 weeks. I read 2 books a week. I'm insane. Anyway, so yeah, today I'm going to be talking about all the 8 books I read. And funny enough, I'm gonna put like what my March TBR was here, but I read 4 out of the 7 that were my March TBR. And the 3 books I didn't read are the only 3 books I have physical copies of. So I've literally become, like, I think the fact that I read last year so many fanfics, I probably read over 40, and I think like now I'm like conditioned into only being able to read on my phone, which is kind of bad, but like anytime I pick up a paperback book, I'm like kind of like my eyes kind of wander, like I'm not focusing on the pages and I'm like, what is up? So yeah, every single book I read this month except one I read online on my phone. So I do have like the books app because I download the books on the books app, and so like I could read on here because all the books are in here, but for some reason I just really like the small phone. So yeah, I don't know. The first book I read this month, I actually started end of February and finished the beginning of this month, but I'm counting it. I'm counting it because yeah, I was like looking through my mom's bookshelf and I found it and I was like, why did you tell me you had this book? Like, it's been on my TBR. It's been on my TBR. I was gonna buy it on eBay. And so I found it and I read it. And it is Educated by Tara Westover. This is a memoir by Tara and basically about her childhood growing up super Mormon and having a borderline schizophrenic dad and a neglectful, well no, both the parents were neglectful, and also like an abusive sibling and just like insane. So yeah, Tara grew up in Idaho and she grew up in like a Mormon family, and the dad was especially Mormon, and then he's like a diagnosed schizophrenic, basically like bipolar schizophrenic. While reading it, I was using my AP psychology info and I was like, no, I think he's schizophrenic. But yeah, obviously since he didn't believe in medicine and the hospital, he would obviously never get diagnosed. But there's like this event that happens and it like especially triggers him and he becomes even more radical, and he literally starts like being so paranoid about the government. He is one of those people that literally thinks like the government's out to get him and the entire family, and he is preparing for the end of the world, since it's like Mormon, or not the end of the world, but like, you know what the Mormons think, like the end of time or something. And so he's preparing for that and he's super paranoid, and so he doesn't send like the younger kids never go to school. The older kids did go to school, but like after this event he pulls everyone out of school that was in school, and the ones that weren't at the age to start school just never started school. So Tara never went to school until when she was 17, and she went to BYU for the first time. So she never stepped foot in an elementary, middle, or high school. Her first schooling was at a university, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, she like at every single page I was turning, I'm like CBS should have been called like on page 2 of the book. But yeah, super neglectful parents, like super neglectful parents. There's at least like 5 accidents that take place. Like half the kids borderline could have died at any moment. They never went to school. Like it was just, the dad was sprouting like shit like constantly, and like I was like oh my god. And then her older brother becomes like super abusive. I think he also has another mental illness going on. And the saving grace is that the mom for some reason is like this, she's literally like this insane medical girl. Like she has all these herbs and she's like saving them. Like at some point, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but like one of the kids gets into a super horrible burn accident and they don't go to the hospital, obviously since they don't believe in hospital, and there's no like Tylenol or like the heavy stuff because they don't believe in that either. And the mom like cures him with her herbs and shit. And then at some point she gets into an accident and then she becomes like, she starts doing like Reiki and shit, and I don't know, she's like insane. Like I don't know. But Tara's life was crazy, but she ends up escaping to BYU to go to college because her older brother, who also escaped to college, was like, you need to go to college, like you need to leave the family. And so she goes to BYU and she studies really hard for the SAT, and he helps her forge documents saying like she was homeschooled and stuff, even though they weren't. Oh, also she was not registered like as a person, like she didn't have a social security until she was like 8 or something. Her parents also didn't know her birthday, so it could be like at any time the last 2 weeks of September. Anyways, so yeah, it's a whole problem because she like didn't have her social security until she was like 9. So originally BYU was like no, but then it works out and she goes to BYU, and obviously she struggles at BYU since she's never been to school before. But then she ends up going to she's like ends up doing good, and then she goes to Cambridge, and I think she gets her PhD at Cambridge, which is insane. And all her teachers always think like she's the best writer they've ever met. So she must have like this insane innate talent. But in conclusion, this book, as I put on the screen, I rated it a 4.5, and honestly, there's like nothing wrong with it. So I just didn't think it was like a 5, so that's why I docked up half a point. But it was like I was into this memoir. Like I was reading, and the pages were gripping me. I was sat for this book. And I think if you're into memoirs, and if you're kind of, because it sounds bad, but like if you've not enjoyed, but if you were interested like intellectually, and you've seen those like Mormon documentaries on like Netflix and stuff, I would recommend this book. Or even if you're just like kind of interested, I don't know, it's like it's a cool book. So I'm gonna like hurry up with the fucking explanations because I took like 6 minutes. But the next book I read on the plane, like in one sitting on the plane coming to the city of Mexico, and it was Daisy Jones and the Six. Wait, what's his name? I think it's Billy. I think that's his name. So Daisy is basically this girl who, I feel like a lot of people have read this book or watched this show, but quick summary, I'm gonna be really quick with this one. Daisy Jones is like a nepo baby who had like famous parents, obviously, but she was also kind of neglected by them. So she basically, by the age of like 14, was out partying every night, doing drugs, alcohol, having sex with older people, fucked up. But she also really loves music, and she's always loved writing music and all that. And so at some point she's like, I'm gonna start writing music, and then, blah, blah. And then the Six is a band who have already been established for quite a while. It started with like these friends in high school, and Billy's like the main guy. And then one of the friends actually goes to the Vietnam War, and then he dies. So then this like other girl from another band, and they kind of poach from another band, she joins it. Anyway, so there's the 6 people from these bands, and they start getting like really popular. They're like, good songs, good shit. And at some point they're like both under the same like record label or something, and so the guy, their boss or whatever, was like, okay, like why don't you guys do a collaboration song? And they do a collaboration song, and it's like really popular because people love Daisy, and also love the Six, but like they love Daisy. And so then they do like another song, and then finally she joins the band. And she joins the band, and she kind of falls in love with Billy, but Billy is already married and has a kid, but Billy also kind of emotionally cheats on his wife, and also kind of falls in love with Daisy, and it's super messy. In the book though, they never do anything physical. Like there was a near kiss, but they never actually kissed, and they never had like sex. I don't know if the show is like that. I do know in the show I've seen clips of them kissing, so that's why I'm not watching the show. I just really don't like the changes they made to the show. It was just, it's also written like interview style, so it's like this person who's interviewing them, and they're telling this entire story through these interviews, and so it's like kind of more like a tell not show type of style of writing. I know some people don't really like that. I personally do really like it, and I think Taylor Jenkins Reid did a really good job with this book. And I also really liked 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, so I think I'm gonna read her other books. But I think she did a good job with this tell not show style, and I was really absorbed with it. I know some people just thought it was super boring, which I definitely did think was super boring. Like I was crying on the plane. But yeah, it was a good book. I read this one a 5. This was one of the 2 5s this month. I just really loved it. Like I read the entire thing and I could not put it down, and I was semi-bawling on the plane. Next book is On the Way to the Wedding. I forgot the author's name. But anyways, it's the last book technically of the Bridgerton siblings. I can't really remember. I think she did like spin-offs of like other people, but it's Gregory's book. Gregory kind of became my favorite character after this book. I've read Hyacinth. I read Hyacinth's book last year, and I was not the biggest fan. I rated that one a 3.5. This one I rated 4.5, and it's basically Gregory. He like goes to one of what's her name? Anthony's wife. I love her though. I forgot her name. Okay, well, so he goes to her party, like the summer home or whatever. And once there, he sees this girl who's Hermione Watson, which I think is so funny. It's clearly combining Hermione Granger and Emma Watson together. But he meets Hermione Watson, who's this beautiful, elegant, stunning lady that all the boys / men are in love with, and he obviously falls in love with her. But she's already kind of in love with someone else, this like secretary guy. Even though her best friend Lucy Abernathy is like, you should not be in love with that guy. Like he's a secretary. You're never gonna be able to marry him. And she's like, I know, but I just love him. And then Gregory is like, oh my god, Lucy, please help me. And Lucy is already technically in an arranged marriage, so she's like, got nothing else to do, sure. And she also loves her best friend. They're like best friends. They went to like a little like women's school together, so they just love each other. And so Lucy ends up like trying to help out Gregory, but like Hermione's like really not into it. But then she kind of gets into it. But then there's like a whole drama, and then at the same time, Gregory and Lucy like sparks fly, and then Lucy's technically engaged. And so then like a whole thing happens, and so then Gregory starts pursuing Lucy, and they do actually love each other. But Lucy's in an arranged marriage, and she can't get out of it. And Gregory kind of crashes her wedding, which proves to kind of fail, but like it's a whole thing and it's cute. I docked out a couple points just because I'm not like the biggest fan, like, so because Gregory was so infatuated with Hermione, so he kept like at the beginning of the book referring to Lucy as like the ordinary best friend sidekick, and then I'm like, oh, like then later they have this whole like falling in love with, and I'm like, okay, but you did just refer to her as like the most ordinary gal in all of Britain. I'm exaggerating, but like kind of. And so I was like, like if I was listening, I would not want to be with someone like, because like she kind of was second choice, but then she's kind of not, because then he like really loves her. But like it's this whole thing. You guys gotta read it. Okay, now I have to quickly take a break to take a look at like the other books, because I'm kind of like, I'm having a brain freeze. I'm like, what else did I read? Next book I read was kind of embarrassing, About Last Night by Macaulay Cole. And this one is like BL sports romance, which are definitely my favorite. Like I don't really like sports romances when they're straight, by the way. Okay, yeah, because I have to like leave for class really soon, so I have to check the time. But yeah, so it's sports romance, and Dason is like this one guy, and the other guy's like Ryan, I think. Dason and Ryan basically meet at this soccer summer camp, and some sparks kind of fly, like they're attracted to each other, but then there's like a whole misunderstanding. So then Ryan kind of hates Dason, and then Dason moves to Ryan's little city or town in Texas, and Dason's like, oh, frick you, what are you doing here? And Dason's like, why are you hitting on me? Like I did nothing wrong. And so it's like a one-sided enemies to lovers, but like the enemies ends like really quickly because Ryan is kind of like a fuckboy, and he like really finds Dason attractive, and then he's like a jealous motherfucker. So yeah, and then there's whole like friends with benefits situation going on, and then Ryan is like, okay, but I don't date because of like past traumas, and like I don't date. And then Dason's like, and then Ryan's like, okay, but like even though we're not dating, like you can't be dating anyone else. And all that. And then so yeah, that's kind of it. It was just kind of a book I was slightly in the mood. I was kind of in the mood for a sports romance. I was like, okay, might as well. And so I read this one. It was fine. It was just a little bit too smutty. My dad is there. A little bit too smutty for me. I'm not really into that. I'm like, okay, like you can tell me it's about to happen, but like skip the scene. And also like it was kind of too long for what it is. It's like a misunderstanding. I'm like, you could have just scraped this misunderstanding. Like we don't, or scrap. Yeah, we do not need this, like just like cut this book by like 150 pages basically. No, 100 pages, 150 digital pages, 100 pages. Yeah, I was like a little bit too long. I mean, I did finish all the book, but I was like, eh. So I rated 3.75. It's my lowest book of the month. The only one I think that went below a 4. I mean, it's not like a bad book. Like the thing is, like I was reading it, enjoying it, and I like kind of thought about the characters after the fact I was reading it. So I was like, it's not bad. But like obviously it's not like a literary novel. Like you're not gonna read this book to be enlightened about the world. So next, Catherine Center's The Bodyguard. This one was really cute. This one, oh yeah, I couldn't remember the character's name for a second, but Hannah is this like bodyguard type, but more like a, she's not really a bodyguard. Like she's not the bodyguard that like stands next to celebrities. She's more like a hidden bodyguard. She works for this company, and then Jack is this super famous movie star, and he needs to go back to his town because his mom is sick and he needs to like visit her. But the problem is that he has like some stalkers. Some little old ladies are in love with him, and so there's some stalkering things that could happen. So his team is like, you need to get a bodyguard team, and he's like, no. But the team is like, okay, we're still getting one. So Hannah shows up because she's the main girl for the group. I don't know how you call it. Yeah, she's the main girl, and she's like, okay, I'm your bodyguard, and he's like, and she like makes him flip. He's like, oh wait, you are my bodyguard. So, but then he's like, but it's not a problem. I can't have my parents know that I need a bodyguard, so you have to pretend to be my girlfriend. And she's like, fuck no, like, fuck no, I'm not doing that. But she does find it kind of hot, but she's like, no, I'm not doing that. But then her boss is like, yeah, you're doing it, like, you're fucking doing it. And then her annoying boyfriend is like, yeah, but like no one, or her annoying ex-boyfriend, he's like, yeah, and no one's gonna even like think you could be his girlfriend. Like, you're so plain against her. Okay, I'm bad. And so yeah, the ex-boyfriend's really fucking annoying, and thank God he gets put in its place later on. And then he's kind of chill, like for basically half the book. They're just kind of like dating, and they're very cute together. But then there's a twist. There's a little twist that happens, and it's cute. I read this at 4.5 because it's cute. There's nothing wrong with it. The writing is very nice. I was really into the characters. I was like, you know what? I wouldn't mind if you added like an extra 100 pages. Like I wouldn't mind. So yeah, I read this. Did I read this quickly? I think I did. And I really liked it. So next, what book am I on? The 6th book? Yeah. 6th book, Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is my first Emily Henry book. And she's coming out with a new one, right? Or did she already come out with it? I don't know. But yeah, it's my first Emily Henry book. And I rated it a 4.5 also. It was very good. And I'll quickly give you the synopsis. But there's this guy Win and this girl Harriet, and there's a bunch of other side characters because they're all friends. And that's what I mostly liked about the book, like the friend aspect. I love when there's like found family, but like they already found each other before the book. But you know, like they're a big family. And I love when it's not just like romance in a romance book. Like I need some depth to this. And so they're all super cute. But Win and Harriet dated at the time, and they were roommates. And then they started dating, and then they actually got engaged, and they just like love each other so much. They're super in love. And they're both part of this friend group, obviously. But then catastrophe hits, and they break up, and they don't tell anyone in the friend group. And so the friend group kind of like is like, oh, well, okay, no. No, not Harriet, Sabrina, which is Harriet's friend. She owns this, or her dad owns this little, like, not little, it's like big cottage mansion type thing in Maine. And every summer they go, but this summer the dad is like selling it, so it's the last summer. And so Sabrina and her fiance Parth are like, we're gonna get married. Like, we're gonna have a cute little mini wedding here. And so you guys all have to come. And then Win and Harriet are like, fuck. So they have to pretend for a week that they're dating, but they're obviously still in love with each other, and it's like a whole thing. I love second chance romance. I love a second chance romance. What can I say? It's probably one of my favorite tropes after Friends to Lovers. I would pick Friends to Lovers and second chance romance any day over an enemies to lovers. I also have to hurry the fuck up. I actually like 15 minutes. So yeah, and then there's tension because they still love each other, but and also they're pretending to date, so they're kind of dating. Anyways, a bunch of life shit happens. I really love that they incorporate life and like friendships as well into Emily Henry. She incorporates like life and life decisions and family problems and past traumas and all that into the love book. And Emily Henry's also extremely witty. This was really funny. Like this was a funny rom-com. I don't say that lightly, but this was a funny rom-com. It's just that like I didn't really like some of the life decisions Harriet made at the end, and this is like completely personal, but like I was like, oh, it's giving too much, like this only can happen in the book. And then also I'm like, it's kind of bad because it took me like a whole week to read this, and I thought I would read this like super quickly because it's not that long. But basically I was like reading it, and I'm like, I'm kind of okay with just putting this down and never picking it up for the rest of my life. Like I'm kind of okay with doing that. Like I don't think I would miss the story. And so, which is weird because I thought I was gonna become like super obsessed, like everyone loves Emily Henry. And so, but you know, that's like not really what happened. But at the same time, like it wasn't that I was against reading it. I was like, if someone tells me, oh, you cannot read Emily Henry's Happy Place anymore, I'd be like, okay, you know, you get what I mean? So that's kind of why I docked half a point, but I couldn't give it a 4 because like it was a good book. So there. Next, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. My second 5-star of the month, and probably my favorite book that I read the entire month. I love this book. I could really give this a 5-star. Love this book. I'm gonna read Tia Williams' new book. I love her. So basically this is about Eva and Shane, which Eva is also named Genevieve. Not Genevieve because it's a French name, so Genevieve. Yeah. And so this is second chance romance also. And it's so witty, it's so funny. I got myself like literally laughing. Like I was putting notes like LMAO. It was funny. I give it to Tia Williams. It's very funny. And like if I could write in a style, it would be Tia Williams. Like I kind of write similarly to her. But like if I could get so much better, I would want to write like Tia Williams. I love this woman now, and I love this book. So yeah, this is basically about Shane and Eva, and in 7 Days in June, when they were 17, senior year, they met and instantly saw my behavior and like deep love. Like this is one of the books where like I felt the love and chemistry. Like I felt it. I'm like, I would have been mad as fuck if they didn't end up together, which doesn't often happen. Like sometimes I'm like, actually you guys like kind of don't belong together, but they fully belong. And then a whole thing happens because they're very they had really horrible childhoods. Like Shane grew up in the foster care system, and then actually like they kind of kicked him out of foster care, and then she had like a fully neglectful mom, and she also has a chronic illness, like a chronic pain, like her body's constantly in pain. And so they were high the entire 7 Days of June. They were high and they were drunk, and there were like a lot of trigger warnings. I'll probably put the trigger warnings, but you know, there's mentions of self-harm and all of that. So it's a deep book. Like they both have really deep childhood trauma, and they end up parting ways because something that happens, and then they meet each other 15 years later, another week, 7 Days of June, and they fall back in love. They technically like never fell out of love, and I just loved it. Like Tia Williams wrote about like this past trauma and all that. Like I felt for the characters. Like I was like truly in love with the characters, and she wrote them beautifully, and I would want to read about the rest of their lives, even if they're just sitting in bed watching TV. I want to read about that. Like that's how much I love these characters. And they're also both black, and Tia Williams is black, and so she incorporates like different aspects of how difficult it is to be a black author, because they're both authors, in the US and like the injustices in the literary community, and also there's like different talks about, you know, like politics, and also how like white liberals are so, and all around a superb book. I will forever recommend this book to anyone. And yeah, I just really loved also the fact that they're both the writers, so I kind of like they talk, like they go to writing conventions and stuff, author conventions, and they like talk about the writing, and they talk about writing books. Oh my god, I forgot to mention one of the most crucial details. They've literally been writing about each other since they're authors, since like forever. Like all their books are about each other, which is super cute. And then the last book I read, I finished last night, and even though I finished it at 3 a.m., I'm counting this as a March read because it's like I finished it before going to bed. So, and it is The Husky and His White Cat Shih Tzu #1. And I'm gonna definitely continue this series. I read this book of 4. There's a couple little problems I have. I'm not, like, there's an age gap. And a lot of people, when I was like looking at TikToks about this book or also other reviews, people were saying like, but Shu Wening never really like acts on it, but at the same time that's not really true because they do have multiple kiss scenes in this book, and they told me I have no more storage, which is really weird because I still have more than like 8 gigabytes left, but okay, let me speed this up. But yeah, Mordan is technically like 15, 16, and Shu Wening is like a full-on adult. He's definitely in his 20s, if not 30s, so I think 20s though. So it is kind of weird, but like, I don't know, like I do understand when they say it's part of the story, like I do understand that. So if you just like automatically that's an egg, like don't read this book. But it was very fast paced, or maybe not fast paced per se, but I read this book super fast. Like I read this it had like 800 digital pages, and I read like 400 a day. So it took me 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, and I really liked it. It was not the best book ever, and it was not, obviously, like I said, there are little problems. Also, like Moran is kind of fucked up. But they're basically spiritual cultivators like in ancient China, and if you watch The Untamed, it's similar in the sense that like they're cultivators, but like not the same story at all. But yeah, they're just kind of like, this is kind of the establishment of what's happening. So Moran, he basically kills himself, and he's like reborn as a younger version of himself, and then he just kind of goes through like the first couple months of his life when he's reborn as a 15-year-old, and that's the story we see. And we also see certain flashbacks of Shu Wening, and he used to be Moran used to be Da Xingjun, the emperor, in his old life, and so we see like how Da Xingjun and Shu Wening were in the past life, and then we see them in the present life. And yeah, check the trigger warnings. Even though the cover is super pretty, it's not like fluffy that much, like it's not, but I did really enjoy it, and I did actually start the second book after I took my shower at like 4 a.m. I started like the first chapter, and then I kind of continued reading this morning. But I don't know, I feel like I didn't properly explain it, but it's just kind of like, out of all the books, this one I feel like it's super hard to get a synopsis because I don't really like just a bunch of shit just kind of happened, and so I can't really like spoil it. But basically, just know this is an enemies to lovers, especially on Moran's side. He really hates Shu Wening because of what happened in his past life, and he's also in love with another guy, Shimei. So there's a whole love triangle kind of going on, and Shimei, he does not really look that interested in Moran, but Moran is really interested in him. So he is completely clueless to the fact that Shu Wening kind of likes him, but at the same time, that's my problem. Like, Shu Wening tries not to like him because he's older. Like, he's his Shizun, meaning he's his like cultivation teacher. Like, you know, he teaches them the shit that they do. And so it's obviously like a power imbalance. So he tries not to like him, but like he kind of still does. But I don't think anything actually happens until they get older. I don't know. The first book, Moran is still like 16, so nothing really happens except like accidental kisses because Moran thinks that he's kissing Shimei, but he's actually not. So I don't know. Yeah, check the trigger warnings. I'll have put the little summary because the summary sucks. But that was the 8th book and the final book of this month. This is the longest video. I hope you guys stayed to the end, but if you didn't, My alarm just rang because it's time for me to go. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe down below. Also check out my other videos, please. And I hope this video was watchable. Like, I rambled on because I'm a yapper. But yeah, let me know if you read any of these other books. I also really want to know. Let me know if you have any recommendations for other books by these authors, or just any other recommendations in general. I kind of stick to my TBR, I kind of don't. That's life. But I'm super proud of myself for having read 8 books. That is literally insane. And after reading those 8 books, I decided that I was going to change my Goodreads goal. My initial Goodreads goal was 30 books this year, but I changed it to 52, 1 per week, because I think if I catch up and I also read like 8 books this month, then it's definitely possible. So yeah, okay. Love you guys. Bye.